Over the last couple months, I feel like I had seen a lot of the trailer for One Night Only and was bought in on seeing it early on. I love romantic comedies, and I like them for what they are. I'm not expecting a movie that will compete for an Oscar, but an easy, breezy romp with a great dialogue and good stars. And for the most part, I think this movie lives up to that. The film looks great, but isn't pushing the limits of cinema. And our two stars are charming and good looking, and the chemistry between them is great, and the lines well written. The problem is a plot element that never got discussed much in the trailer. A plot element that is the reason this movie probably got greenlit in the first place, and in the end, a plot element that made the movie too unwieldy to keep together. What is that plot element? You'll have to watch to find out. This is Cory, and this is my filmmaker perspective. That plot element in question is the premise. This script from Travis Braun came from the Blacklist, where there are a ton of great original ideas, and from time to time, they get noticed and bought. But the thing that makes it original and special has a hard time translating from a written medium to a film. Travis has actually topped the Blacklist 2 years in a row, which is a phenomenal accomplishment that had never been done before. And I really enjoyed the script for the most part. And having a good script is really the make or break element in any romantic comedies. Not to say they need to have an exceptional script, because more good than bad can be enough for most of these movies. Like I said, many of those successful Blacklist scripts often have a different premise to get the attention of readers. A famous example is a movie called Bubbles that was Michael Jackson biopic from the point of view of his chimp Bubbles. It was a unique twist on something that could clearly be a big hit in its own right. The writing in the script was good, but the problem is that the thing that made it interesting made producing it impossible. Put aside getting the life rights from Michael Jackson, shooting with a live chimp would be a nightmare. Mocap, like Planet of the Apes, could work, but at the end of the day, you are reliant on CGI, and we can use the example of the actual Michael Jackson biopic from this year that the CGI wasn't good enough. Now, there is also a lot of discussion about how much of this script is similar to the one that was on the Blacklist. Apparently, there was an extensive rewrite from director Will Gluck, so it is hard to say who is responsible for what and why things needed to be written and how it would be different if the original script was the one that was filmed. I'd be interested in reading the original at some point and finding out. Which brings us back to One Night Only and the premise here. I didn't hear anything about this until Friday morning, and I really wish it was part of the trailer more. The idea is that in an alternate reality, the government has decreed premarital sex illegal, with the exception of just one night. You can sense development executives getting all worked up like the unwed characters in the movie as they repeat purge but for hooking up over and over again. In its most simple version, it sounded like an incredible idea. I'm sure in the script itself it read like an incredible idea, and when you were pitching talent, they surely thought it was an incredible idea. The problem is the second and third level thinking that an audience will have while watching it will show what a house of cards the premise can be to the eventual movie. It's the only way I can explain how this movie feels at times. Like, the premise is just the premise. And much like an improv troupe, if a character says, I'm a pirate, it's best just to take them at their word for it and not try and poke holes in it. The more you look for reasons the person isn't a pirate, the less fun you will have. Also, at the same time, the movie feels like they know they have to answer some questions, but there is a constant debate of how much they want to be laissez-faire about it and when they need to fill in the audience with the actual details of how this works in theory. Because here's the thing. I think the first 5 to 10 minutes of the movie does a great job of setting up the premise and then quickly giving us romantic comedy touchstones to lure us into the movie we were expecting and then subverting it in really pleasant ways. For instance, when we meet Allie, played by Monica Barbaro, there is a lead-in with Brave by Sarah Bareilles playing, which is a song I know really well. And when I heard it at first, my initial reaction was that this isn't Sarah Bareilles. It was playing over establishing shots of New York, so I had time to listen to it, and I wondered if maybe they had hired a sound-alike to essentially cover the song so they could save money on the license or something. When we cut to Allie for the first time, we realized that she is the one singing the song, so that's why it is clearly not Sarah Bareilles. But it's all her lyrics from the first verse. So you start wondering if this is for a cover band or something, and then we finally get to the chorus to learn that this is a parody sound-alike for a psoriasis drug. So we have is a traditional rom-com moment. We haven't met the female lead, but we get a popular song over B-roll of New York. The only problem is there's something off with the song. Most people will recognize that at least. Sarah Bareilles has a very strong voice. So even the very best singers would have trouble matching what she does exactly. And this is all part of the subversion. In the end, the goal of the scene is, in a standard romantic comedy and One Night Only, intertwine as they introduce the important character in a memorable way, but by subverting the traditional path, you make the moment land soundly. It happens a lot throughout the movie, but this scene is so early, it doesn't really spoil anything, so I thought it would be the best to give as an example. One of the great things about rom-coms has been their consistent ability to launch stars. If someone was funny, like a former SNL star, there was a low-budget comedy that there was there to see if they could be the face of something big. Same thing with the rom-com for the good-looking actor who needed to be in the lead in something and show that they have what it takes to carry a studio picture. Unfortunately, the middle fell out of the studio releases, and the low to medium budget rom-com fell out too. Will Gluck, who directed this movie, also directed Anyone But You, which was one of the first breakout rom-coms in a while, and properly launched Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney into a different level of stardom. Was Anyone But You especially good? No, but you have to treat these movies like minor league baseball teams. You're trying to develop the biggest stars you can. The record of the team is not the most important thing. With the casting of Callum Turner and Monica Barbaro, they found two great young stars that felt similar in standing as Powell and Sweeney were at the time Anyone But You came out. The best version of this is when both stars are generally known but might not have that household name moment. Like, I had not seen Callum Turner in anything before this, but I was aware of who he was. Monica Barbaro was an Oscar nom for playing Joan Baez in A Complete Unknown, and she had a great spot in Top Gun Maverick. And yet those bigger roles haven't given her the space to really break out in a way that my mom knows who she is. I think they're both great in this movie. Both play the role with an approachability that really lets the audience in, and the chemistry between them just really works. It's hard to get the balance just right, but I think they play off each other naturally. In another subversion to the rom-com meet cute, early in the movie they bump into each other on the street for their first meeting, and there is a minute of what can be. But it quickly devolves into chaos, and Owen and Allie find themselves on different paths. While they are on different paths, they often will just miss each other walking around the streets of New York, which is a nice touch for the inevitability to come. There are great cameos throughout. Maya Hawke plays Owen's girlfriend, who waits until tonight to propose, that they use this night as an opportunity to sleep with other people. It hit him hard because he was going to take this opportunity to propose. Molly Ringwald plays Owen's mother, and LeVar Burton is her surprise lover. It was nice to see Julia Fox after such a strong breakout. It's been a little bit too much page 6 for me. I don't know if the cameos were always the strongest for the story, but they seem to be getting the best out of the people who showed up for them. I thought Pete Davidson and Bobby Cannavale as cops in the movie was fun, but I don't know if I would see that movie if it was in real life. I thought Nicholas Braun, Ben Marshall, and Jay Ellis as guys at the bar were all fun, but it could have been better for the story if they were all less well-known faces. Far be it from me to tell studios what to do with their money, but I could make an argument that losing money, quote-unquote, on original romantic comedies will make you money in the long run. No one likes to look at the balance sheet and see things that underperformed, but the value you get from having a property that introduces a new star could potentially be the lead for one of your big projects in the future has tremendous benefits. When we were in the heyday of studios making movies all the time and releasing them in theaters, a couple romantic comedies were always necessary to fill in the schedule of products for everyone, i.e. women. And they traditionally did not need to have the best script or the best acting or the best directing. It was a fun time is all it was needed to be. Take Sandra Bullock, Julia Roberts, or Matthew McConaughey. All of these stars would not have had the same platform today if it wasn't for romantic comedies early on when they were trying to solidify themselves in the industry. And because they had this opportunity and because they did so well and with the chances they were given, they turned into humongous bankable stars. I argue that we're still making the low to mid budget comedy because every so often one of them shows up on Peacock or Paramount Plus or whatever. They just don't release them in theaters like they used to. Put together a moderate marketing budget to alert the world of the existence of the movie. Allow the stars to go out either individually or together to promote the movie on talk shows or podcasts or whatever you deem fit. The final step is the most difficult. You release the movie and you don't look at how much money it made, because if you were to just release the movie on a Peacock all on its own, you would not care how much money it made in that circumstance because it doesn't make any money. So why do you care how much money it made It got released in the theater, it made $12 million on a $15 million budget, and you hate yourself. We already do it with the budget of these movies where we play fast and loose with how much something made. The truth is that a $3 million loss on a rom-com in theaters could equal $1 billion worth of box office for a star over the course of their career, but they need to have the intermediary step. I don't know. I made a little bit of a stir when I said every studio should just put a certain amount of money aside that they don't care about. Just give $12 million to 12 different filmmakers and see what they come up with. And one of them will eventually make enough money that it will make up for all the other ones that didn't. And not to blame the individual people for the projects, because some things pop and some things don't. You never know why. I think the rom-com, while not the highest form of art, is one of the greatest ways to turn somebody from, oh, maybe they could be, to a no doubt about it star. It's a special occasion, so I'm wearing the polo. It's the Leaderboard. No one is putting this movie in their pantheon of romantic comedies, but it's a fun night out if you can just buy into the premise and treat anything you were told as answers to the only questions you had. Callum Turner and Monica Barbaro have fantastic chemistry, and the rest of the cast is filled with a grab bag of people who are putting in solid work. If I had to give it a rating, I would give One Night Only a 6.4. It's a rom-com, so the expectations are low. A good story and a compelling cast, especially with our leads, can make a hit. This one just misses the mark. Sometimes the script and dialogue is sharp, and sometimes you feel a suit on set asking if the audience will understand there are only 3 hours left. I think Turner and Barbaro did everything they could, and they will be rewarded with better roles in the future. Even if you don't catch it in theaters, I think it's a fun time for when it eventually lands on streaming. Thank you so much for watching. A couple notes. I don't know if there will be a video next week. I'll be heading back to Baltimore for the weekend. But the good news is that my baby girl is about to start school right after. So I will have a lot more time to work on improvements for the channel, and I am super excited for that. Trying to find time for the videos has been tough, but I am always trying to be consistent for y'all. Anywho, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you back here real soon.